subject.
Yeah, we do.
I think people are going to be really interested.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's really cool. Like our conversation that was going on upstairs.
Yeah.
We'll, you know.
Yeah, figure out how to tie it in.
Yeah, we'll talk about histrionics. We'll talk about all kinds of things like that. Let's see if it's been announced here. I'm really excited about this. Let's see.
The ideas are brewing.
Liz Live, tackling.
Yeah, there we are.
It's really cool. Okay.
Oh, we got 2 viewers already.
Yeah, we can turn it down.
All right.
All right.
We can do that. Perfect timing.
All right.
All right.
Well, good evening, everybody. This is something totally different for Liz Live. We've never done a Friday night show, so I thought, why not? My nephew and I, we were having this great conversation upstairs, and we were talking about narcissism, and we decided, like, let's just film right now. We're in it. We're feeling this conversation right now. So we are going to talk about narcissism and really what it's like once you're outside of the relationship with the narcissist, because it's something that, he and I both have experienced, and we were having this like awesome conversation. So we're going to share it with all of you because this is Liz Live and we are talk show therapy. And if you're watching, I need subscribers on YouTube so that I can go live on YouTube and help more people. So if you haven't done it already, please go to YouTube, the Elizabeth 126. That's my birthday. And just jump on there and hit the subscribe button. And this show will be available on YouTube pretty much within like 15 minutes after the show. But Shabbat Shalom and happy Shabbat. It's Friday night, and hello to oh, hi Norman. I've never seen you before. Nice to see you, Norman. Damage. Yeah, they are damaged people.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about it. So I'm going to just kind of catch up. For those of you who've never watched the show before, because I might be getting different people, I am a marriage and family therapist and mental health counselor based in Miami, Florida, originally from Pittsburgh, PA. Nephew Zach here, who's 25, the same age I was when I moved down to Florida initially 20 years ago, is now making a new life for himself in Miami. And so he's staying with me, and we were talking about all this stuff. How's it going in Miami? How are you liking it?
I'm definitely liking it so far. Big change from up home in Pittsburgh. And actually, it's funny since we're talking about narcissism now. I mean, I was telling a friend today, like, people down here, they are more interested, like, in themselves than in Pittsburgh. Like, I think in Pittsburgh, a lot of people, like, just strangers on the street would help you with a flat tire or something like that, compared to here.
But wait a minute. What happened to us yesterday?
Oh, yesterday.
We were at so Zach we were at the beach. Well, we went to go to the beach in the morning, and we parked in this really obscure parking spot, but it was prime real estate. So we park, and we basically got stuck because it was like this little tiny box of a spot. And I'm not the best driver. He's a pretty good, much better than me. I don't have great depth perception for backing out, and I couldn't get the car out. So we were trying to get this car out of this little tiny space, and this guy who was hanging around just jumped in, and he helped guide us, the car out of the parking spot, and that was right here in Miami, like in Aventura, Sunny Isles area.
And
so,
I was kind of surprised.
I mean, I think the people in Miami are pretty awesome.
Yeah, but I mean, your initial reaction, I was surprised that you were so surprised that someone would do that.
I was.
And
I gave him a big hug. And
yeah.
I
and to me,
let the car out.
Yeah, I mean, but to me, that was like normal that someone would stop and take a minute to help, Yeah,
I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. So, all right, so that's what happened to us yesterday. And so let's key everybody in on the whole issue of narcissism, because I think that's probably why I have a big audience tonight, is not only because it's in the evening and people are home, and I usually do my show in the morning, but I think people, narcissism is huge, and it's only getting worse, in my view, not just as a therapist, but also just a human being in the United States of America right now on social media. All those social media apps are providing a huge platform for people who are narcissists to create an image that maybe isn't necessarily a true image or a real picture of who they actually are. But because it's unchecked, because it's not in person and it's not a real relationship, you can put whatever you want out on social media and people just sort of accept it as the truth. And narcissists are realizing that, hey, I can, the fake persona that I create for my real life relationships, I can really advertise that persona on social media and I can get it in front of, tons of people, and they're going to believe that I am the person that I want to be, that I'm actually not. And that's a big thing with narcissists try to paint a picture of this grandiose sort of alter ego or alter other persona that doesn't actually exist, and it's not actually how they feel, but they want other people to believe that that's how they feel and that's who they really are. So whether it's through social media or just the verbiage that they use, or through the way they dress, it could be the car they drive. I mean, it could be so many different exterior things that they use to promote who they want you to think that they are, but they're really not that. And yes, like our first viewer said before, it's definitely it's damaged human beings. And we all can have a little bit of sympathy for people who are struggling with insecurity. And I think we all struggle with insecurity to a certain degree. But for narcissists, the insecurity is so painful for them and they feel so broken that they have to continually convince everybody around them of how great they are. And that is kind of, in a nutshell, the method of operandi for a narcissist. And when you're coming out of a relationship with somebody who behaves in this manner and acts so grandiose and sometimes so curt and so cantankerous and so obnoxious, it's hard to regain your footing, and it's hard to survive those relationships, and that's part of the work that I do. So I'm going to interview Zach a little bit about his experience with narcissists, because I think that it's something that everyone who's watching or anyone who's had experience with narcissism can relate to. Okay. So Zach, we were talking, and there's going to be no names, we're not dishing any dirt or gossip on the show, but we're talking sort of like in generalities and, just experiences. So, okay. So Zach, have you ever had, you said, you've had experiences with narcissists.
Yeah, I've known a few people that I would classify as narcissists.
And how did you know that they were narcissistic, and what was it like for you to be in those relationships?
Well, I mean, there's definitely some identifying behaviors. A lot of them have to do with like status, just trying to appear as, as you said, like as that persona, and presenting. I mean, if you look at Facebook, it's full of narcissists. I hate to bag the platform that we're on, but hey,
no, it's not Facebook's fault.
Yeah, and social media just lends itself to narcissism, really. So really what I've noticed in the people who really exert the narcissistic traits is it's almost like they're selling you their lifestyle, that in the image. And like, you're going to, I don't know what they necessarily think you're going to get out of it. Probably nothing, because they're not thinking about you at all. But
good point.
Yeah. But if anything, they're thinking I'm going to attract people, or I'm going to look really glamorous, or like, look how awesome I am.
Right, and I think the people that they want to attract are people that they feel can help their status.
Yeah, and going on with that, one person that I know that I would, put under this category, a trait that they exhibit is they love to flaunt their connections, and I know this person from that place. I don't know them.
Dropper.
Yeah, I don't know them from high school. I know them from this thing that they did that was like a job that got me my job, etc. Like I know this person who's a great connection. They got me this, they got me that, and they are doing this. Sometimes they're hyping up their connection, even if it's that connection's achievement, but just oh, I'm so great because I know this person, you know?
So what's really interesting, and we have to get another microphone because
Yeah.
Zach's so smart, and I'm so proud of him, and he's so smart. But in the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, which is the diagnostic manual that all of us therapists use, psychologists use, psychiatrists use, if you actually look into the diagnostic criteria of narcissism, what Zach is saying is actually a criteria where they list different characteristics, and they say that they will often narcissists will often inflate their connections or relationships to people that they perceive are of higher social status in order to gain attention or acceptance. So you're dead on, 100%. And if you look under narcissism, and if you read the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders online's description of narcissism, you will find that and 8 other listed criteria of narcissism. And I'm going to get to everything on the screen, but I want to keep talking a little bit with Zach, because what I find interesting is I'm a 45-year-old woman who's professionally trained and unfortunately experienced in relationships with narcissists. And, I have someone who's almost half my age that really seems to get the picture. Do you think that your generation is a little more aware of narcissism than mine because of social media?
I think so. And also because we're starting to be aware of the issues that social media presents. We were not all born into this, but certainly raised with it. And I mean, we've all gotten to a point where you see the narcissist posting on Facebook how glamorous they are, and it's not that you can't do that yourself. Anyone can do it, really. Once you get an idea for how that works. But if you don't intuitively have that, then you're probably just not a narcissist.
Right.
And
That's a good point.
and for everyone else, sorry, I'm losing my
No,
train of thought.
you're right. I mean, if you are a narcissist, then I think what you're saying is it just comes so naturally to figure out how you can use social media to have that grandiose, status online. Whereas I grew up, people who are my age and older, we didn't grow up with social media.
Yeah.
So narcissists didn't have that outlet. So they had to act very grandiose in other ways, more with talking and, going out a lot. And they would have to be out all the time and be seen and, go to the hottest places and, or whatever you want to say, and drive the fanciest cars and the flashiest clothes and have the flashiest girlfriends or the flashiest wife or boyfriends or whatever. Does your generation know about relationships with narcissism, or is it more of just like, oh, we're so used to seeing everybody, on social media with these grandiose posts? Or do you guys really get what it means to be in a relationship, do you think, with a narcissist?
Well, that's a multi-tiered question, because I think people my age struggle with relationships in general.
Is that because of narcissism and social media?
I'd say it's definitely because of social media, and probably because of narcissism just as commonly as any other age. Because I don't know that necessarily people that of a younger generation are more narcissistic. I couldn't tell you.
I couldn't tell you that either. We'd have to do some research.
Yeah.
To say whether that's true or not. I have no idea.
Yeah.
But the behavior, I think the behavior that is displayed on social media that you grew up with, that I didn't. I mean, when I was your age, there was no social media.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. I think now, like, people my age, and back to the last point, we are like more aware of the dangers and like as far as how social media can affect your mental health. But some of us also just kind of tread forward anyway,
Yeah.
And especially if you're a narcissist, you don't care about that. You probably never even considered it. It's just, you're just continuing to promote and grow. And it really is just kind of, in this context with social media that we're talking about, it's building a brand.
Yeah, That's so interesting.
Yeah.
So like you're building your own personal, brands of look at me, look at me, look at me, look how cool I am, look how great I am, look how
Yeah.
talented I am. What about the chronic selfies? Do you guys notice like those selfies that girls take a lot and guys too?
What you mean, like the ultra flattering ones?
Yeah, like
Oh yeah, and it's all you got to do it at least a foot above your head, right?
yeah, you do it up really high so that you're no one can actually see what
Yeah,
your
you
body
can't
looks
possibly
like.
have like a little extra skin right here or whatever. But yeah, I think that's starting. I mean, the older generation it can just pick that up from the younger generation. I don't think that's even. We're all doing selfies now.
Yeah.
It's all figured out.
Yeah, it's weird. And like, so would you consider, like, do you have friends that do all the selfie stuff?
Um, yeah, I would say, well, not too many of like my close friends now. I don't have a lot of friends who are like super vain that are filling up their Instagram or their Facebook with selfies. Uh, but I've known plenty of people that are like that. I just kind of wound up distancing myself from them.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's like a line that you have to walk too, because there are plenty of great people who are, and I mean, we're kind of like leaning into the social media thing, but it does constantly tie with narcissism. But I know plenty of people who are great people, not narcissists, but they are trying to build a brand in the genuine sense. And now at least for me, I notice there's like an association with like promoting yourself and an appearance of like self-importance and narcissism.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest, like I've looked at my own social media before because I don't post anything personal.
Yeah.
Like rarely if ever. So the only thing I ever post is my business stuff, which is usually a title of a Liz Live and a picture of myself. And when I look at it like from an outsider stand, I'm like, oh my God, I look, this is disgusting. It's like a narcissist would look. But I'd like to think I'm not, but I'm trying to promote myself, my therapy, what I do. And so, yeah, if someone didn't know me, they could look at my page and be like, wow, this girl's a narcissist.
Yeah, I mean, and essentially you are just kind of walking that line. But I mean, anyone who actually knows you knows that you're not a narcissist.
Right.
And you have to trust people to figure that out about you.
Right. That's true. That's true. But I mean, even myself, I look at it and it's amazing because, like I said, even 10 years ago, I wouldn't have known that I had to do this.
Yeah. And it's kind of the way of the future, though.
It is. And
I mean, actually, it's been the way of the past 10 or 15 years now.
I know.
But,
well, for me, it's been like the past year or two. But
yeah.
Okay, so let's see what people are saying here. Okay, so it's hi. Basically, narcissists are damaged people. Damaged. It is rarely diagnosed due to them not taking accountability. Okay, so that's something I could, really speak to from, clinical experience. It's true that the research on narcissism, although growing, is somewhat limited because they don't present for help. And the way that we in mental health generally get our statistics is from mental health agencies and mental health hospitals. So if you're not presenting in an agency and a hospital and getting that diagnosis, then the institutions that are doing the research can never get a hold of, will never know about you. So the narcissists that do present in agencies and mental health institutions are, probably have a lot of comorbid diagnoses, which means more than one diagnosis that gets them there in the first place. And that diagnosis is made very subjectively because it's not being looked at by a lot of people. It's just maybe one psychiatrist or one therapist, typing it into the computer and sending it in, and then other people collect the research. So our research and our statistics are not great, really for any personality disorder, or I think even mental health in general, but definitely not for narcissism. And because of that, and because we don't have a ton of information or numbers, raw data on narcissism, we can't really study it in the way that we would really need to be able to really get it and see, is there treatment that works, because as far as we can tell right now, and I think you could ask anyone in the mental health field and they would tell you, no way, narcissists don't change. And I actually did a big research paper on that very issue called Narcissism and Change when I was in the doctoral program. And what I found is that when people ask you narcissists change, it all depends on your definition of change. Will they ever lose their narcissistic traits? Not in my opinion. Can their behavior be minimized? Can they minimize their behavior? Can they control their behavior if they really want to? If they have traits more so than the full, diagnosis, I would say, it's definitely possible. But if you're expecting narcissists to entirely change and shake all of their narcissistic traits, I would say that would be like 1 in a million. I mean, miracles happen, but it would be, really unlikely. Really unlikely. Zach, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I don't know any that have really changed their ways.
Yeah, it doesn't. And it's sad because when you first meet a narcissist, they're very charming and very enchanting. And so it's easy to fall in love with a narcissist in the early stages of a relationship because, especially to the general public, unless they're, really, really obnoxious, which many of them are really, really obnoxious, but the ones who aren't so obvious can really go under the radar as great guys, great gals, so much fun, so interesting, so exciting. And then as you get to know these people a little bit better and you start really seeing these traits pop out and you're feeling the other side of the narcissistic personality when you're in the relationship, it's really daunting. And we're going to talk about what happens in the aftermath. I just want to see what else is going on. I think people in general are pretty awesome despite what the media shows you. That's my producer. And I think knowing you didn't mean awesome. I think you meant, wait, I don't know. Tell me what you mean, because I think I'm missing this. I know that's a typo. Norman, okay, are most abusers suffering from NPD? Great question. And yes, 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 and yes. And I'm going to tell you why. So you can't abuse somebody, okay, really abuse somebody if you have empathy for other people, because you would feel awful about hurting another human being if you're non-narcissistic, right? So if you're an abusive person, physically, psychologically, emotionally, verbally, whatever, however you want to categorize the abuse, you have to lack empathy. And traditionally, people who lack empathy that's one of the diagnostic traits in the DSM for narcissism, for NPD, which stands for narcissistic personality disorder. So you would really have to lack empathy to harm someone and not care and not feel bad about it. And so, yes, I believe that to be true. And I also believe that, I would say that not all narcissists are necessarily abusers, although I'd say the majority of them are in some way, but not all. And that is because, and I'm getting complicated here, a lot of narcissists will share traits of other personality disorders, and that kind of complicates and changes the presentation of the behavior you're going to see coming from that narcissist. They might have histrionic traits. They might have borderline traits, which, we'll get into another time in another way. But absolutely, to answer your question, Norman, I believe so. Yes. Next comment is, most people who are secure with themselves don't have to post all that stuff on social media.
Yeah.
Good point. Could that be considered a red flag? I feel like Zach wants to say something. So.
I mean, I think she kind of hit the nail on the head. I don't know. Yeah, and we mentioned that while we were talking before the show.
Yeah.
If you're not insecure and you're not a narcissist, then you don't feel the need to project your image all over the place and let everyone know how great you are, because you just know you You know, you have that confidence.
Right.
And I mean, it is kind of tricky because narcissists come off as confident, but their behavior isn't. It shows insecurity.
100%. So, for example, when, Tara's making that statement and Zach is asking that question, or making that comment rather, I feel like I'm thinking about people who take a picture of their new pair of shoes or their new piece of jewelry or, their new car, and they post it all over social media. And that's not to say all people who do that are definitely narcissists. But it does, in my view, show a bit of a lack of empathy because, everybody in the world, most people in the world cannot afford, expensive cars or expensive jewelry or, things of the like. And so when you're putting it up there, it's very, how do I say? It's very, it's insensitive. It's insensitive to, do that and not think about how that might be making somebody else feel. And so I really, I think that's a really good point. Anything else to say on that? I'm just getting a lot of text messages. I hope all the audio and everything.
Seems like hopefully it is, but it seems like we're getting some interest.
Oh. No, I just got some great news. Great news. But anyway.
Good.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. All right, so go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just gonna truck along here with in the aftermath of narcissism. We should probably come back around to what you're gonna do once you realize that you're stuck with a narcissistic person in your life, and where do you take things from there?
Yeah.
There's lots of ways you could approach it, but I know, for me, the best thing that's ever worked is just putting some space in between, because it's easy when you're working with someone who is a narcissist. If you're working very closely, maybe you have a family member, it's very, very easy to just get swept up in all of that and let them kind of consume you with their, the histrionics and,
yes.
Everything is a total emergency or of the utmost importance, for whatever, if it's a business, this is going to be the next big deal.
Whatever they want.
Yeah.
Whatever they want has to be done immediately, right now, right then, right now.
Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, I love all these comments, and I just love what's happening here. Are narcissists habitual liars? I have... God, yes. Yes, before I even read anymore, yes. Are narcissists habitual liars? I have an ex that would lie about absolutely everything, even small, irrelevant things. Are narcissists habitual liars? I have an ex that would lie about absolutely everything. They are habitual liars. They lie, I would say not so much to hurt people, because again, they're very disconnected from other people's feelings in general, good or bad. But they're lying because they want, again, to create that false persona that, I'm big time, I'm famous, I'm a rock star, I'm a sports star, I'm a model.
Some ego protection is going on there too.
Yes, talk about that.
Yeah, well, was it are lying to other people? No narcissist, again, is thinking, I want to lie to this person. It's, I want to protect myself or make myself elevated, bring that status up. And as far as thinking of someone else, it's usually just, I hate to make it sound so insensitive, but narcissists think of other people as like a stepping stone,
God, you're good. I'm sorry. You must have had a lot of experience with narcissists. Yeah, so...
That's like the best consideration you're going to get from a narcissist.
Yeah, so, okay. So, narcissists are users in addition to being, liars. And again, keep in mind that there are different, I'm going to say, strengths of narcissism. So, you know how you have different proof alcohol, you have 80 proof, 100 proof, 40 proof. So, if you think of narcissism in that regard, you have like off the charts narcissism, and then you have like maybe medium narcissism and then low level narcissism. And we look at that narcissistic personality on a spectrum of like 1 to 12. So the more severe the symptomology or the behavior of a narcissist, then we know that more likely they are to use you, to lie, to make up that phony persona. There's a saying like every person in LA is a famous actress, right? Or a famous actor. Everyone in Miami is a model, okay? You follow my drift. It's wanting to be seen as a certain thing that you're not, but you feel like the only way that you'll be accepted in life is if you try to present like I have tons of money, or I am the most beautiful person, and I have the best connections, and that I'm the most, talented. And they will use and abuse people to get where they want to go in life. They don't care who they step on. They will go after the nicest, most, beautiful people, because the kinder, more beautiful human beings are so sort of empathetic towards everything. And they will put up with the narcissist and not understand what's actually happening, and they enable it. But deep inside, I think everybody, I know I knew when I was with a narcissist what was going on. But you try to lie to yourself and say, oh, that's, they have all these nice traits, so that's not such a big deal. But ultimately, when you're in a relationship with a narcissist, you will wind up literally starving of, emotional nurturing. It will be all about them and never about you. They will step on you and lie to you and do what they have to do, again, in the most severe cases, in order to achieve their own gain and their own means. And that's also part of the criteria of the DSM. Zach, did you want to say something?
I don't know. I feel like as far as the narcissist traits that I've seen, I think I got most of them out there.
Wow, we have a lot of stuff going on.
Oh wow, do we? Maybe we should hit the comments before we.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Let me see what's going on here. Okay. So, where we go? Let's see. Okay. Are you born a narcissist, or is it learned behavior? As I guess reasonable as it seems, because we froze because what happened there?
Oh, we're still going.
We wrote. Sorry, we froze there for a second. As reasonable or as unreasonable as it may seem that narcissism could be genetic, I don't rule it out. Because it's behavior that we're seeing, meaning us therapists, us people that, come into contact with them, we recognize narcissism by behavior, then we tend to assume that behavior is learned. And if you read about narcissism, again, there's so really little research available to us to really know for sure. That there have been certainly theories that, there could potentially be a narcissistic gene or predisposition for narcissism that runs transgenerationally through heredity and or maybe behavior, but we haven't nailed that down yet. We do know that with sociopathology, which are, narcissists on steroids, if you will, the ones that commit crimes and serial killers, when we're getting into criminality, we know that from research, there are now some brain alterations that can be identified on PET scans, on certain brain scans that, the average person does not have. So I don't rule out that we may discover one day that narcissism is somewhat genetic, because you do see patterns of it in families. And yeah, I mean, again, because it's a behavioral type of presentation, we tend to think, oh, that must be learned or cultivated. But I think that even with, if you take, for example, heart disease, there's definitely a hereditary trail with things like heart disease and cancer. But if you're aware of those genes, or that maybe you could be a candidate for those things because your parents had it, or your grandparents, or your brothers or sisters, you can take steps and do things to prevent those genetic predispositions from expressing themselves. And I'd like to believe that in the same regard, perhaps, maybe there could be a narcissistic gene that, if not disciplined and parented appropriately, that will then express itself. Maybe not. I don't know that we know the answer to that. But I think it's very possible that there could be a genetic link there. And I think we will find out in years to come that that's a possibility. But as far as we know right now, we don't know that. We do know that it does run in families, and we do know that behavior is learned. So we make the assumption that narcissism is largely learned behavior. It's enabled, it's lack of discipline. It's, some theories say that narcissists are sort of born out of, parental relationships that have a very abusive dynamic where somebody's being constantly put down, criticized. They watch maybe their father or their mother being constantly criticized and put down by the other parent, and the child feels so horrible that they become somewhat shattered and broken as children. And so in order to hide that wound, that psychological, what we call narcissistic wounds, we will inflate reality about ourselves in order to be loved by others, because we believe that ourself alone and who we are will never be enough. So we create this grandiose, braggadocious, arrogant persona in order to keep the ego from shattering, if you will, for lack of a better term. So nobody's born a narcissist. We don't know that. We really don't know that. We do know that, yes, their parents or narcissists may be caregivers, and oftentimes they are. But again, I would just say that, remember, psychology is a very new field. It's just barely over 100 years old, if that, and that's arguable. And we don't know a lot, and we know very, very little about personality disorders. And the only personality disorder that's really been, I don't even know if I would say well researched, but has been researched to a significant degree, is borderline personality disorder. So, I say, I'm skeptical, but being skeptical doesn't mean you don't believe. Skeptical means, it's a possible conclusion, but prove it to me. So I'm open to that. They think they are perfect. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Yes, they do.
At least as they present themselves, as believing they're perfect.
Yeah, right. They present, right.
Yeah.
So does a narcissist know they are a narcissist? That's, I don't know.
No,
I mean,
I think no.
You think no?
Yeah.
Why do you say that?
I mean, I think that almost comes inherently with being a narcissist. Because if you were aware, you probably wouldn't do those. I mean, you probably wouldn't partake in all those behaviors.
Yeah, I mean, I think younger narcissists don't know, but I have known a handful of adult narcissists that have said, yeah, I'm a narcissist and I don't care. They learn how to sort of blow it off, minimize it, deny it, and make it like, it's insignificant.
Some people
and unimportant.
Play it off as a good thing too.
That's right. I mean, narcissists are crafty and they're very creative, and they will do anything to save face. Anything. So, Largely, I would say no, but certainly I've known a handful that are very aware, and they don't care. They don't care. So it's irrelevant. Can therapy help them, or would you say they are a lost cause? And, in my experience, well over a decade plus, maybe 13 years now of experience in the mental health field, I would sadly say that I think they're pretty much a lost cause. Again, I think a lot of that has to do with how severe the traits present. So you might have a person that has narcissistic traits, but they don't meet the criteria for the full blown personality disorder diagnosis. So maybe in that case, therapy might, work to a degree. And again, I think that therapy can teach narcissists to tone down and control and minimize some of the really bad behaviors. But I don't think it will ever really change those traits. And I think that sadly, there's not much help for narcissists as much as I wish there was. Everyone has the capability to change. Norman, again, defining change is the big point here, because if your expectation of change with a narcissist, for example, is that they're going to completely shake all of those narcissistic traits and be a really well-rounded, healthy, balanced, considerate, thoughtful, individual with, a reasonable degree, a healthy degree of empathy, I would say probably not going to happen. But if you define change as tuning down or, polishing some of those traits, then I would say, yeah, it is possible. And I believe that most people are capable of change if they want that change, if they want it. If they don't want the change, they don't see themselves as narcissistic, or they don't see narcissism as a problem, they're not changing. In my view, my humble opinion, of course. It is just they don't get help. Change takes time. And again, I mean, I don't agree. I want to agree, but my experience tells me otherwise. Maybe I'm jaded because I'm a narcissist. Maybe I'm jaded because I'm a therapist. How do you survive? Are narcissists typically men or women? The statistics tell us, and again, statistics are limited, but the statistics that we have tell us that narcissists are as defined in the DSM, verbatim, are more often men. But there are narcissistic women for sure. I've known several. I've treated several, not to any success, but I've certainly, seen in real life female narcissists. Female narcissists often also have borderline and histrionic traits, as do most narcissistic men. So while the majority, as far as our very limited statistics tell us, the majority are men, but I definitely know female narcissists. Zach, what do you think? Just from your
Yeah, I know a female narcissist too. I can tell you that.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So let's see. Coming out of a relationship with a narcissist left me feeling so depressed because I wasn't able to see through him or get out of the relationship earlier. But understanding what a narcissist is a great deal. Yeah. And I think putting a frame around it is really helpful because, if I were not a therapist and I did not have some of the unfortunate relationship experiences that I've had, and I didn't, on top of it, study narcissism, I don't know that I would. So if you take away my education and just my experience, I would have some understanding, maybe, but I would never be able to really grasp the gravity without that education. And nobody can, and nobody should feel bad or guilty for not seeing it. Because if you're not trained to recognize mental illness and personality disorders, you wouldn't know. And especially if you're a really nice person and you come from, a good family background and you haven't had a lot of experience with narcissistic people, you're just not going to recognize it, and it takes a lot of living and a lot of experience to begin to grasp the depths of the personality patterns. And so, you feel like crap in the aftermath. And I spend years counseling people who have been in relationships with narcissists, years, and they're so hurt and they're so confused and perplexed at the lack of empathy, because they feel like, wow, I loved this person. I gave this person so much of myself. I invested so much of my energy and time and love into this person, and they don't give a shit about me. And that is so hurtful, and that is so disappointing, and it is so daunting when you go through the experience. And again, I think you have to live that experience to really understand it. And it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking. And so what I kind of do when I get people coming out of those relationships in the aftermath is, we process the relationship. We talk about it. We identify the behaviors and we put that frame around it, which, I've heard from many, many clients over the years how helpful that has been for them, because they finally can say, okay, so that's what this crazy behavior is. That's what this hurtful behavior is. It's narcissism. And there's an actual diagnostic, manual for this. And there's articles written, and there's other people who have had this experience, and I'm not alone. And, my therapist understands it, and he can explain to me, what this is and how it develops, and so that you never, ever, ever go back into a relationship like that again. And I want to, reiterate that, what complicates this conversation is that there are various degrees of narcissism. And so, I see very often, people who were with, very high level narcissists, let's say for 10 years, they get extracted, thankfully, from that relationship. And then the next one, might be, someone with some narcissistic traits, but isn't necessarily a full-blown narcissist. So, we have all of those things kind of wrapped up, and it's complicated, but, I just wanted to make that point. Are narcissists more susceptible to drug and or alcohol abuse? Yes, they are. And again, that is proven statistically, and that is also, I believe, attributed to the narcissist's, uncomfortability with self. And they actually, kind of hate themselves so much, and they feel so uncomfortable in the world that, again, they'll do anything to feel grandiose, anything to feel better and numb out the painful feelings that they really do feel. And so narcissists run a very high rate of cocaine abuse, and alcohol abuse are the two most common with narcissists, but certainly pills and, other substances certainly are in there as well. Because again, but not all addicts are narcissists, no way. But there is a narcissistic, I would say, sentiment to addiction. And again, that's for another show, because when you're an addict, you are cut, whether you really have no empathy or you're numbed out from your empathy, you're not feeling empathy for the pain you're causing other people. So there's a very narcissistic I guess, again, sentiment or trait to addiction in general, in my view. But yes, to answer your question, how can you spot one before you get into a relationship? Well, I've done long shows on this, but I would say, if something seems too good to be true, I mean, check it, check yourself, take a couple steps back. Don't be negative or anything, but just, if this person seems a little too good to be true, check it, check yourself, share with a friend, call a professional, take it slow. Bragging. I have a rule, like if I'm out with somebody on a first meeting, whether it's, a friendship, a date, a professional, whatever, and they're telling you how much money they make, they're telling you how fantastic their business is or how talented they are, red flag, because again, as Zach said earlier, if you really feel confident about yourself, you're not going to brag about it. You don't need to tell a bunch of people how great you are. You don't need to take pictures of everything you do and throw it on Facebook and see how great I am, see all the things that I have, and you don't mistreat people, and you don't have trouble accepting, that people have a differing opinion than you or another way of looking at things because it's not hurtful to you. If you're confident, you accept that people see things in many different ways. You don't have to be right all the time. And you don't enjoy or, get any feelings about bragging about how great you are. You would never do that if you're really confident. You just wouldn't do it. And you might even feel like, you want to look for humility in people. If there's no humility and there's no, compassion for other people, if they're mistreating the wait staff, or, if they're, if you're in a relationship with someone, you're constantly feeling slighted, that they didn't consider you, and it happens over and over again. Those are all red flags. And I would definitely watch my show, How to Spot a Quality Relationship, because that will kind of give you the sort of the antidote of narcissism and tell you how to choose a good relationship.
That last question there's a good one.
Okay. So let's see. Did I miss anything? Okay. Are narcissists attracted to other narcissists? Or do they steer clear of each other? Well, I've seen it both ways. I've seen, two narcissists together, but usually one of them has a lot of other traits, and not, but I'm making it complicated. You generally know narcissists don't date other narcissists because there's only room for one movie star on the screen, right? So a narcissist wants to be the center of attention. So they're not going to want someone competing for that. They're not going to like that. But I've seen it. Personality disordered people in general tend to, attract each other like glue, but I'd say there's more like borderlines with narcissists and histrionics with narcissists, more so than narcissists and narcissists. And that's probably for another show, because a lot of people probably don't even know what that means. But yeah, so I hope that answered your question. Hi, Lily. I miss you, girl. How are you? Are there any easy coping mechanisms to use when trying to live peacefully in the aftermath? Yeah, that's a great question. And I mean, the first one I would say is it's not you. It's not your fault. It's not you. That narcissist has treated and will continue to treat every other person that they're ever in a relationship with just as rotten as they treated you. No matter what stupid posts they put on Facebook or Instagram, no matter what BS they're championing, they don't change. Sorry, they just don't. They will treat every significant other like crap. And they might love bomb you in the beginning with flowers and jewelry and whining and dining, but you will be feeling very alone in that relationship ultimately. And that's not going to change if they pick another woman. It's going to be the same pattern because personality is somewhat fixed. And especially when it's disordered, meaning it's all messed up, okay? And narcissism is a personality disorder. It's a problem within that person. It's not about you. So when you're trying to survive the aftermath or cope with a narcissist, which is very challenging, it's not about you. It's not your fault. There's nothing that you did to make this person behave that way. It's the way that they are. It's a reflection of them, and it's not a reflection of you. But I would recommend highly that if you are in a relationship with a narcissist, or you're the child of a narcissist, or the parent of a narcissist, that you get professional help, because you have to put up some really, really, really strong boundaries, and you really have to work on how you react and respond. Because if you take all that narcissism on as, you know, something that you're causing, or something that you are trying to fix or change or solve, you're going to become extremely depressed and extremely frustrated. Because, you know, as a trained professional, I mean, candidly, there's not a whole lot I can do other than maybe help a narcissist tone it down a little bit. So as a daughter, a parent, a sister, a brother, a spouse, a boyfriend, a girlfriend, there's nothing you can do. And the stronger that you become with them and the more boundaries you set with them, the less interested they're going to become in you, because they can't get away with their shtick, with their act. So if you're left by a narcissist, believe me, the only reason they're leaving you is because you figured them out. And they don't like that. So they will make you miserable and try and get you to leave them, whether it's conscious or subconscious. They don't do well in close relationships unless they're with like a Stepford wife, you know, like a robot, and you're going to just agree with everything they say and do everything they want to do, because narcissists don't like to go out of their way for people. They see it as a burden. They see it as, first of all, they don't even get it. They don't even understand what that means, really. But they're never going to be able to give you what you need in a relationship, no matter what role you're playing. Again, daughter, sister, mother, grandparent, best friend, spouse, whatever. So my advice to anyone dealing with a narcissist is keep them out here. Don't try and get too close to them, even if it's a parent, even if it's, you know, if it's a partner or spouse, you've got big, big problems. But if you're a child or a parent, you know, you have to learn to, you know, to keep a certain healthy distance and put up really, really good boundaries. And you have to really educate yourself on narcissism so that you're not taking it on as something you're making someone do, or that you're not good enough for them, or you're not enough for them. Because the narcissists, you know, they put themselves on such a pedestal that everyone's beneath them. And they have these bizarre, urgent expectations of people that are completely unrealistic, that nobody can ever meet, including the narcissists themselves. And that's why the narcissist becomes narcissistic in the first place, because they feel they're not good enough. So they make everybody around them feel that they're not good enough. And that's the only way a narcissist can survive in the world. That's a mouthful.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. And I mean, when it comes to surviving the aftermath, I mean, first off, when you finish that connection, you break off that relationship, or whether it's work or personal or whatever. I mean, first, you're probably going to breathe a sigh of relief and be like, wow, I have a lot of free time now.
Yeah, because they take up a lot of your time.
Yeah, they'll suck up your whole life if you allow them to. So I think for me personally, the number one thing that helped me cope in the aftermath was to realize that and take advantage. You know, And ironically, the way to get over a narcissist after the fact is you got to get into yourself a little more. You
Yeah.
know?
Oh, it's the truth. You have
Yeah.
to learn to be a little
You take
selfish in a
yeah.
way.
Yeah, you take that kind of you take that page out of their book with you when you leave, and you say, all right, well, let me figure out myself because now I'm out of this relationship where I was giving too much and not getting enough, and I'm gonna give myself what I need.
That's right. That's beautifully put. You
Mm.
know, and I think that the reason again it takes people a while to catch on to the narcissist is because narcissists can be so charismatic and they can be so tricky and so manipulative. And a lot of times if you're like just an innocent decent human being, it's preposterous to imagine what they're doing. It's like your mind doesn't even think like that. It doesn't even go there, right?
Yeah, and also, I mean, for me, because remember back again, we finished this relationship with a narcissist, and depending on the nature, like maybe you still see them on social media or whatever, if it's not something where you broke it off in like an ugly kind of way.
Right.
And for me, all I can do, the best I can do to cope when I see those things, and I'm like reminded of all that time, is I can just go, oh well, good for you. That's what you're doing, what you wanted, and I mean, it's kind of how you would deal with any breakup. You just gotta say, hey, good for you. You're off doing your thing, and I'm here living my life, and I'm free of all the baggage that
Comes
such and
with
such
it.
narcissist brought into my life.
Yeah, I think that's a beautiful way to put it, and it takes a long time to get where Zach is and what he's talking about, and that's what us therapists are here for, is to help people get there to that healthy place where you can see that that sort of, I'm going to call it the show, the narcissistic show,
Yeah.
on social media, or they're still involved with your friends, or maybe they're in your family and you can't completely escape it or cut it off. To know that, wow, okay, at least let's not fantasize about what that was.
Yeah.
Like they're fantasizing with all this show, but I know the real story, and I'm going to remember that, and I'm not going to buy into that false narrative, which is basically what they're doing, is they're telling a false story about themselves. And I know what it's like to be up close and personal to that fake story. And yeah, I'm kind of hurt to see that they don't give a crap about me, or they're boasting or bragging about how great their life is, and I'm sitting here in pain. But at least I don't have to experience that pain anymore, and at least I have hope, and I have a bright future, and that person is just going to be treading water for the rest of their lives, and they're never going to really have a meaningful relationship. I can do that. I have opportunities, and I have a chance, and I have hope to do better for myself. And no shame. It happens to the best of us. The nicest, kindest, most beautiful souls in the world get tangled up with narcissists because of their kindness and their patience with other people. So, no shame. Just, like Zach said, get some perspective, work on yourself, learn how to take better care of yourself from the narcissist, because they're so good at it.
They are.
They're so damn good at it. And be thankful that you're not like that and you're free of that toxicity. And I think that's, probably the best we can do without me sitting one-on-one with everyone and going through your personal situation, which I'm always available to. So, Zach, any last thoughts? I love you too, Lil. I miss all you guys. And maybe if you pop over to your aunt's house in the next 24 hours, I might see you. Just saying. Okay, Zach, what do you want? How should we end this?
I don't know. We covered a lot. I think we should just say good luck to all our people out there who are dealing with narcissists, because I mean, God knows that there's lots of narcissists out there. And yeah, try and take in all the different identifying factors that we talked about so you can be aware. And remember, ultimately, I mean, for most people, you have a choice to get out, you know?
That's right. And, there's help out there, guys. Like, that's what I'm here for. And, I'd like to think, I hope and I pray that that's what most therapists are trying to do. We are supposed to be helpers and healers. And if you're not getting that from your therapist, like cut it and go elsewhere, like a bad relationship.
Yeah.
Don't waste your time and money with a therapist that isn't helping you and connecting with you and is just sitting there and how does that make you feel? Or, agreeing with everything you say, like that's a bad relationship too. And I hope and I pray that is not your therapeutic experience, because there's a lot of us out there that are really good and caring and, passionate about what we do. So if you get into a bad therapeutic relationship, just get out, just move on. Because this is serious when you're on the other side of it. And, I know from experience and I know from, dealing with so many amazing human beings. I'm telling you, the nicest people go out with narcissists. The nicest people, come from, these friendships that are toxically narcissistic. And it's almost in a way, it's like something you can be proud of. Like, wow, I came out of a narcissistic relationship and I lived to tell the tale, and like, I must be really nice and a really good person if I spent that much time with a narcissist. So yay for me. But next time I'm going to do better and, share your experiences. There's like so many podcasts out there, and I do caution, people, like it's always good to gather information and look up narcissism and personality disorders, but please consult, with a professional one-on-one, because some of the stuff that's out there is not so hot and could be misleading. And sometimes when I read certain things that certain therapists or writers put out there about personality disorders, I feel like they're still healing, and they're still angry themselves, and they're sort of a little off the mark. And you want to stay logical because it's a very emotional experience. So you want to counter that with a little bit of, logic and down to earth, thinking too. So get help. I'm out there. I can do virtual. I can do phone. I can do in person. I can recommend a good person in your area, perhaps. I can help you find a good person in your area if you want in person and you're not in Miami or in Murraysville area, because I go between both. And look, whether you're 25 or you're 45, we can all have that experience, and it's okay. Again, no shame, maybe a little pride, right? Because we're the nicer people. And that's it.
Yeah. If you survived a narcissistic relationship, obviously, like you said, you're probably a pretty nice person, but you are 100% a very patient person.
Yes. Oh my God.
Yeah.
You have to be so. Oh, do you
Probably
have to be
a very
patient?
tolerant person too. Like,
Yeah.
You're probably the person everyone wants at the party if you were able to put up with that.
Seriously. And honestly, the people that I love the most in my life we've all been through it. I'm telling you, the nicest, kindest, coolest people are the ones who wind up at some point with a narcissist. And the narcissists, they know how to find you. It's like you have a invisible tattoo on your forehead that says, like, come get me, or something. I don't know what it is. But anyway, we're going to go eat, and we haven't had dinner and it's late. And Shabbat Shalom, all that means is, peace. And for all of the Jews out there who are celebrating the Sabbath tonight, and all of the Christians who are, celebrating the Sabbath on Sunday, and every other religion in the world, I acknowledge you all. I don't know all of them. There's like 4,000 religions out there. But anyway, Shabbat Shalom, peace to everybody. And we'll see you on, I won't be doing a show Monday because I'm going to be unavailable that day, but we'll be back Wednesday morning at 11 a.m. and on YouTube. So hit subscribe on YouTube, guys. Please go to my channel on YouTube. Be well, love you, and you are 100% better off. Thanks, Tara. See you guys tomorrow. Goodbye to the Pezzies. Okay, let's see.
Oh, it's loud.
How did that happen? That came on automatically? That's so cool.
What's that?
How did that come on? Oh, you did it.
Yeah.